Brian, for 30 years I've been a filmmaker, and I've done hundreds of hours for television and broadcasters around the world. But your story is, in my mind, one of the most riveting I've ever come across.
Paul, I'm excited about your leadership in developing this documentary. Your experience over the last 25 and 30 years in television and film, of course, gives you the background and the experience and the talent to do this. But it's a story that I think needs to be told. It's a story that so often we think about ourselves, but it could be a great inspiration to people around the world as to what they can do individually.
Tell us about your faith experience when you were first brought into the story of Tyndale. What happened?
Joshua 3 tells the story of Joshua responding to the people of Israel who wanted to move into the Promised Land. They'd been wandering for 40 years. He went to God and said, "What do I do?" And the word of the Lord was, "When the feet of the priest touch in the water, then I'll stop the Jordan and people can cross into the Promised Land." And she turned to me and said, "Brian, would you be a priest for us and walk into the water?" I said yes. I didn't know what I was saying yes to. But faith became a new reality for me. Faith where I go beyond my own capacity to assure success by trusting in the Lord in a risk-taking way that without His support I'll fail. That brought transformation, as I said, to me and to the school, and provides that environment of risk-taking faith that will influence countless lives. And so this story is about a catalyst to encourage people who will say, "Count me in." They're being counted in to an activity of God in the world. That my story and Nahum's story and the other stories that you tell are simply but a microcosm of all the activity that God is doing and God wills to do in the world today. Nahum, how would a young man from French West Africa in Mali end up at a university and seminary in Toronto?
I met a young lady in Senegal. She's from Canada, a former graduate of Tyndale, and she told me about Tyndale.
Now, Nahum, you've been at Tyndale while we've been going through this revolutionary, transformative experience.
Yes.
As you've watched that, what has that meant to you?
I saw God in work through the faith of ordinary people. And when ordinary people come and believe in God-given vision, He surely shows up. And that has inspired me to believe God with the vision He has given me for the people of Mali.
Nahum, now that you've accomplished your educational goals,
yes,
as you return to Mali,
yes,
what do you see as being your priorities in bringing change and wholeness to Mali?
Three things. One, church plant in the capital city, which is called Bamako. Second, a Christian elementary school. Third, a health center, Christian health center.
And what will that do?
That will be a living testimony of Christ's compassion for the country and touching and transforming many lives.
Where do you see the impact? Where do you see it of this story taking place? How do you think it can affect people's lives?
Paul, I believe one of the great values of this documentary is that especially during a time when there's social and economic distress, people tend to close in on themselves. They tend to protect their own comfort zones. This story of faith and the stories that you tell are truly Christian. They're counterintuitive and they're countercultural. Faith is to move in the opposite direction and to trust God in ways that are maybe uncommon to you, but to trust Him in ways that without His help you'll fail. That's faith. And that's what I believe that people will experience and understand if they watch your documentary. And my hope is that there will be countless thousands who will in their own heart say, "Lord, count me in. I want to take my step of faith." When people look at me, I'm an ordinary minister's boy from Saskatchewan. If God can use me to be a priest to take that step of faith, He can use you. He can use the many people that will watch this documentary.
So you've been counted in, and now we want and hope and trust that scores and hundreds and thousands of others will be counted in. And that's our hope, that's our purpose, and that, we believe, is God's intention for this moment.